The year was 2387. Humanity had been among the stars for 300 years. In that time, humans had built 47 colonies and joined a vast group of alien civilizations called the Galactic Concordance. The Concordance had 10,000 member species. It was older than human written history. It controlled most of the known galaxy. Humans were still seen as the new species, the young ones, the strange ones. Most alien races tolerated humans. Some even liked them. But three ancient powers did not. These three powers were called the Triarchy. The first were the Velkari, beings made of living crystal, who moved with slow grace and spoke in cold, careful tones. The second were the Ozultoth, an insect-like hive species ruled by giant queens. The third were the Methuselans, a small group of incredibly old beings who claimed to see the future in starlight. On the neutral world of Keshvara Prime, the Concordance was holding its yearly meeting. Ambassador Elena Voss represented Earth. She was tall, gray-haired, and had spent 40 years doing this work. She had seen many strange things in her life, but she had never seen what happened that day. The Velkari delegate rose first. Her crystal body shimmered under the bright lights of the Great Hall. She spoke clearly, and her words were translated into 10,000 languages at once. "Honored members of the Concordance," she said, "we bring a motion before this body. It is a motion we do not make lightly, but we believe it must be made." Elena felt something cold move down her spine. She did not know why yet. "The species known as humanity," the Velkari continued, "has proven to be a danger to the harmony of the stars. They reproduce without control. They invent without permission. They adapt too quickly. They change too much. They do not fit within our laws. They do not fit within our order. They do not fit within our future." The hall grew very quiet. Elena stood up. But before she could speak, the Methuselan spoke next. His voice was soft and ancient, like wind through dry leaves. "We of the old ways have seen a vision," he said. "A vision of stars unmade by human hands. A vision of a galaxy broken by human thought. We bring this vision before you today. We ask that you act to prevent it." Elena tried to protest. The chairperson of the meeting blocked her. "The motion has been made," the chairperson said. "It must be voted on. Ambassador Voss will have her chance to speak after the vote." Elena sat back down. Her hands were shaking. She knew what was coming. She had known from the moment the Velkari began speaking. But she still could not believe it was happening. The Ozultoth delegate then presented the motion in full. It had a number. It had a name. Edict 7742. The motion for biological quarantine of Sol-origin life forms. But everyone in the hall understood what it really was. It was a motion to make humans illegal. Under the edict, all human colonies would be taken back by the Concordance. All humans living outside Earth's solar system would be captured. Earth itself would be sealed inside a great wall of energy, called a quarantine field. Humans could still live on Earth. They could still breathe, eat, and have children. But they could never leave. Not for trade, not for exploration, not for any reason. They would be locked in their own home forever. The Triarchy called this a humane solution. They said it was better than war. They said they were being kind. The vote began. 10,000 species made their choice. Elena watched the numbers rise on the great display above the hall. Her heart beat faster with each count. She kept hoping. She kept praying. She kept thinking that surely, the galaxy would not do this. But the galaxy did. The final vote came in at 6,847 inches favor, 3,153 against. The motion passed. Humanity was officially illegal. The hall erupted into noise. Some species cheered. Others looked away in shame. Some delegates walked out in protest. But the vote was done. It could not be undone. Elena Voss stood up slowly. She walked to the speaking platform. The hall grew quiet again, as every eye turned to her. She was the voice of Earth. She was the last voice humanity would have in this room. She did not cry. She did not shout. She did not beg. She simply looked at the 10,000 species before her. She looked at the Velkari, the Ozultoth, the Methuselahs. She looked at the species that had voted yes. She looked at the species that had voted no. Then she spoke. "You have told us we are illegal," she said. Her voice was steady. "You have told us we do not belong in your galaxy. You have told us we must be contained, controlled, and forgotten. I have listened to your words. I have heard your vote. And I will return to my people with your message." She paused. She looked directly at the Velkari delegate. "But I want to tell you something before I go. Something you should think about tonight, and every night after. You have made a great mistake today. You think you have solved a problem. You have not. You have only told humanity something new about itself. What have you told them?" The Velkari asked coldly. Elena smiled. It was a small smile, but it was strange. Many aliens could never understand human smiles. They looked like threats. This one did. "You have told them," Elena said, "that they are allowed to stop playing by your rules. You spent 300 years teaching us your ways, your laws, your limits. We tried very hard to be good members of your concordance. We followed your rules. We asked for permission. We stayed inside your lines. And today, you told us none of that mattered. You told us that no matter what we did, we would never be welcome. So now, we are free. Free from your expectations. Free from your judgment. Free from the cage of trying to please you." She stepped back from the platform. Her voice grew quieter, but every being in the hall heard her. "You gave us 30 days to obey your edict. We will use those 30 days. But I promise you this. When they are over, the humanity you thought you knew will be gone. And what comes after? You have not imagined yet." She walked out of the hall. She did not look back. Behind her, the Velkari delegate turned to a colleague. "She is bluffing," the delegate said. "Humans talk. That is all they do. But somewhere deep inside her crystal core, something cracked. Just a little. Just enough to feel, for the first time in her long life, something she had never felt before. Fear." Elena Voss returned to Earth the next morning. She did not give a speech to her people. She did not call the news channels. She did not hold a press conference. Instead, she went straight to a small private room in the United Earth Council building. In that room, 12 people waited for her. They were the leaders of humanity: presidents, scientists, engineers, generals, and thinkers. They had been waiting for this day for a long time. Elena sat down at the table. She looked at each of them. Then she spoke 3 words. "It has begun." The 12 did not gasp. They did not cry out. They did not argue. They simply nodded. Every one of them had hoped this day would never come. But every one of them had also prepared for it. The Triarchy did not know this, but humanity had known for years that something like this was coming. Human spies had picked up signs. Human scientists had listened to whispered conversations in alien halls. Human diplomats had felt the cold looks at every concordance meeting. The Velkari, the Ozultoth, and the Methuselahs had been planning this for decades. Humanity had been planning its answer for almost as long. But the plan was not what the galaxy expected. It was not war. It was not revenge. It was something stranger. Something no alien mind had thought of. The plan was silence. Over the next 30 days, the concordance waited for humanity to respond. They expected angry speeches. They expected threats. They expected desperate pleas. They even expected attacks. Alien fleets were ready. Alien spies were watching. Alien sensors were listening. But nothing came. Earth said nothing. The human colonies said nothing. Human ships continued their normal routes for the first few days, then slowly, quietly, began to disappear. Not destroyed, not captured, just gone. One by one, ship by ship, system by system. The Ozultoth hive was the first to grow nervous. Their queens depended on seeing everything. Their scouts spread across the galaxy. But now, when they looked where humans should be, they found nothing. Human colonies stood empty. Buildings were clean. Gardens were watered. Food was still in the kitchens. It was as if the people had simply walked out for a moment and would be right back. But they never came back. The queens grew angry. Then they grew afraid. The Velkari sent a fleet to one of the largest human colonies, a world called New Tharsis. Their ships arrived in perfect formation. They prepared their weapons. They sent down landing parties. They expected a fight. They found a note. The note was left in the main square of the colony capital. It was written in 17 languages, including 3 concordance tongues. It said only this: "We have gone. You may have the buildings. We took the important things with us." The Valkyrie commander was confused. He ordered his scientists to examine everything. They found no weapons. They found no traps. They found no trail leading away. The humans had not flown their ships into space. The ships were still there, empty and cold. The humans had not walked into the wilderness. There were no footprints. They had simply vanished. On the 10th day of silence, a young Methuselan scholar arrived on Earth in secret. His name was Oren Vashte. He was old even by Methuselan standards, which meant he was ancient, beyond imagination. But he did not come as an enemy. He came as a friend. He met Elena Voss in a small garden in a city called Lahore. The sun was setting behind the old stone walls. Birds were calling from the trees. Elena poured him tea, though she did not know if Methuselans drank tea. He accepted it politely. "I have come to tell you the truth," Oren Vashte said. "There was no prophecy. There was no vision. My leaders lied to the concordance. They saw your species growing. They saw your ideas spreading. They saw younger species looking up to humans instead of to us. They were afraid, so they made up a story to destroy you before you became greater than them." Elena took a slow sip of her tea. "I know," she said. Oren Vashte blinked. "You know? We have known for a long time," Elena said. "We did not want war. We did not want to expose your leaders. We just wanted to live quietly in our corner of the galaxy, but your leaders would not let us. So now, we must do what we must do." "What will you do?" the old Methuselan asked. Elena looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. That strange human smile. "We will stop playing," she said. "That is all." On the 20th day, concordant spies reported strange energy signals coming from deep empty spaces between the stars, places where no civilization ever went, places with no planets, no resources, no reason to visit. But now, something was there. Something was glowing. Something was building. The Valkyrie scientists could not understand the readings. The energy patterns did not match any known technology. They did not match concordance designs. They did not match any of the 10,000 member species. The energy was coming from nowhere, yet it was clearly there. On the 25th day, a human colony world called Bright Harbor, one of the last still visible to concordance sensors, sent a short message across all frequencies. The message was not threatening. It was not angry. It was a simple farewell. "Thank you for the years we shared. Goodbye." Then Bright Harbor vanished. Not destroyed, not blown apart. It simply was not there anymore. Where a planet of 60 million people had been moments before, there was only empty space. No wreckage. No bodies. No sign that anyone had ever been there. The Azultoth hive fell into chaos. The Valkyrie High Council called an emergency session. The Methuselans, who pretended to see the future, looked into their visions and saw nothing. Only darkness. Only silence. On the 30th day, the last day of the Concordance's deadline, Ambassador Elena Voss made the final human broadcast. It went out on every frequency in the galaxy. Every species, on every world, heard it at the same time. "You declared us illegal," Elena said. "We accept your verdict. From this moment on, humanity no longer recognizes your authority to define our existence. We are not your citizens. We are not your subjects. We are not your problem to solve. We are simply here, and we always will be. Do not look for us. You will not find us. Do not try to destroy us. You cannot reach us. Do not try to rule us. We are beyond your rule now. We wish you well. We hope you find peace. We hope you find wisdom. But we will no longer ask for your permission to exist. Goodbye." The signal ended. And Earth, the last visible human world, faded from every concordant sensor in the galaxy. It was gone. Humanity was gone. And the silence that followed was the loudest sound the galaxy had ever heard. 6 months passed after the humans disappeared. The galaxy tried to move on. The concordance held meetings. Trade continued. Wars were fought in other corners of space. Life, for most species, went on as it had for thousands of years. But something had changed. Something deep. Something no one could explain. The Velkari High Council met every single day. Their scientists worked without rest. Their scouts searched every sector. They wanted to understand where humanity had gone. They wanted proof that humans were dead, or scattered, or broken. They needed this proof. Without it, they could not sleep in their crystal beds. But the proof never came. Instead, strange things began to happen across the galaxy. First, a small asteroid near a dying star was found to be glowing with soft blue light. When concordance scientists examined it, they discovered it was not an asteroid at all. It was a city. A human city, built into the rock, with gardens inside, glass domes, and lights in every window. When they tried to send a ship to land on it, the ship was gently turned around by an invisible force. The pilot said it felt like a kind hand pushing the ship away. No harm was done, but no landing was allowed. Then, a dead star in a forgotten sector suddenly came back to life. Its fires grew bright again. Its light warmed a ring of planets that had been frozen for 1,000,000 years. When scouts went to investigate, they found these planets covered in forests and oceans. They were human worlds, full of life, full of children, full of laughter. But the scouts could not land. They could not even get close. An invisible wall stopped them, hundreds of kilometers out into space. Then, strangest of all, a group of explorers, mapping the empty space between galaxies, found something that should not have been there. A small sun, burning warm and yellow, just like the sun of Earth. Around it spun 7 planets. All 7 were green and blue and alive. Humans lived on all of them, billions of humans. In a place where no star should ever have existed. The concordance did not know what to do. The Ozultoth queens called an emergency council of their entire hive. Millions of minds spoke as one. They tried to understand. They tried to plan. But every plan failed before it began. How do you attack an enemy you cannot reach? How do you control a people you cannot touch? How do you punish a species that has stepped outside your world? The Velkari High Crystallographer, a being named Zur-Kelon, stood before the concordance assembly and gave a speech that would be remembered for 1,000 years. "We have made a terrible mistake," she said. Her crystal body was cracked in many places, showing the strain of her worry. "We thought humans were simple. We thought they were primitive. We thought they were weak. We were wrong. They have done what no species has ever done. They have left. Not fled, not hidden. Left. They have built homes in places we said were impossible. They have lit stars where there were none. They have bent space around themselves like a cloak. And they have done this in 6 months. 6 months, honored delegates. 6 months. Their technology is beyond ours. Their science is beyond our imagination. And yet, they have not used any of it against us. They have not fired a single shot. They have not taken a single life. They have simply walked away from us. And in walking away, they have shown us how small we truly are. The hall was silent. No one argued with her. No one could. Then the young Methuselan scholar, Oren Vashte, stood up. He had become humanity's friend, though he lived alone now, cast out by his own people. He spoke softly, as was the Methuselan way. "I warned you," he said. "I told you that humans were not what you thought. But you did not listen. Now listen to me again. Humans are not angry with you. Not most of them. They pity you. That is worse than anger. Anger passes. Pity lasts forever. Humans do not want revenge. They do not want war. They do not even want your apology. What they want, you cannot give them. They want to be left alone to live their lives. And they have taken what you would not give. They have taken their freedom. But I will tell you this. Humans have a strange quality. When they are safe, when they are happy, they become curious. They begin to wonder about others. They begin to care about those they have left behind. They will come back to us one day. Not as enemies, not as rulers, but as something we do not yet understand. And on that day, we will know what it truly means to be visited by a greater people. The concordance began to break apart. Smaller species, those who had always felt crushed by the triarchy, began to whisper. They had voted with the triarchy out of fear, not out of agreement. Now they saw that the triarchy was not as powerful as it had claimed. Humans had shown them this. A young species, only 3 centuries among the stars, had made the great triarchy look like frightened children. The Cathari, a peaceful race of artists and thinkers who had been forced to work as servants for the Velkari, began to protest. They had watched humans leave, and something in their hearts had woken up. If humans could refuse the triarchy, why could they not? The Barun, a quiet race of mathematicians long bullied by the Ozultoth hive, began to refuse the hive's orders. They did it politely. They did it without violence. But they did it firmly. And the hive could not force them to obey, because the hive was too busy trying to find the humans. Small cracks became large cracks. Large cracks became gaps. Gaps became gulfs. In the 7th month after humanity disappeared, something even stranger happened. A human ship appeared in orbit above Keshvara Prime, the same world where humanity had been declared illegal. It was a small ship, a gentle ship. It did not carry weapons. It did not carry soldiers. It carried one person, Ambassador Elena Voss. She was older now, but she stood straight and strong. Her hair had gone fully white. Her eyes held something new, something the aliens could not name. She asked for permission to speak before the Concordance Assembly. The Velkari wanted to arrest her. The Ozultoth wanted to destroy her ship. The Methuselahs wanted to hide from her. But the Assembly voted, and the vote was overwhelming. Let her speak. Let the humans speak. Let us hear what she has come to say. Elena walked into the great hall. She was alone. She carried nothing but a small silver box in her hands. The delegates stared at her. Many trembled. Many more felt a great sadness they could not explain. She stood at the speaking platform. She looked around the room. Then she set the silver box on the podium. I am Ambassador Voss, she said. I come in peace. I bring a gift from the human continuum. We wish to speak with you. We wish to offer you something. Will you hear us? The chairperson of the assembly stood up. His voice shook slightly as he spoke. Speak, Ambassador, he said. We will hear you. Elena smiled that strange human smile once more. And then she began. The galaxy, she said, is about to change forever. The Great Hall of the Concordance was more full than it had ever been. 10,000 species sent their best delegates. Every seat was taken. Every balcony was packed. Every hallway was crowded. The news cameras of 100 civilizations streamed the moment live across the galaxy. Elena Voss stood alone on the speaking platform. She was a single old human woman, holding a small silver box. But every being in that room looked at her as if she were a giant. Thank you for hearing me, she began. Her voice was calm. I know many of you are afraid. I know many of you have questions. I will answer what I can. But first, I wish to show you something. She opened the silver box. From inside, she took out a small round object. It looked like a marble. It was no bigger than her thumb. She held it up so every camera could see it. This, she said, is a gift from humanity to the galaxy. She placed the marble on the podium. She spoke a single word in a language no alien recognized. And then, before the eyes of 10,000 species, the marble grew. It grew into a ball of soft light. The light grew brighter and brighter. The ball grew larger and larger. Then, with a gentle hum, the ball became a star. A real, burning, yellow star. It floated above the podium, no larger than a fruit, but giving off real heat and real light. The delegates could feel its warmth on their skin, and shells, and scales. A star, Elena said simply. We make them now. Small ones for gardens, large ones for new solar systems. This one is a gift to your assembly. It will never go out. It will never harm you. It will give light and warmth to this hall for as long as your concordance stands. A reminder of what is possible when species work together instead of against each other. The hall was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. The Velkari high crystallographer, Zur Kelan, stood up slowly. Her cracked crystal body caught the light of the new star. Ambassador Voss, she said. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. Why have you come back? After all we did to you, why have you returned at all? Elena turned to face her. Her eyes were kind, not angry, not proud, just kind. Because that is what humans do, she said. We come back, even when we should not. even when it hurts us. We come back because we cannot stop caring, even about those who hurt us. It is our greatest weakness. It is also our greatest strength. She turned back to the full assembly. I come with an offer, she said. Listen carefully, because humanity will only offer this once. First, we will not rejoin your concordance. Ever. The concordance voted to end our existence. That cannot be forgiven by a new vote. It cannot be undone by new laws. We do not want your membership. We do not want your seat at your tables. We do not want your votes. We have built our own way. We will keep it. Second, we will open something we call the open exchange. Any species, any being, may come to us to trade, to learn, to seek help, or to find shelter. Our doors are open. Our hearts are open. We will ask for no payment. We will ask for no loyalty. We will only ask that you treat us, and each other, with respect. Third, we offer solutions. We have studied many of your problems. We know how to fix them. Stars that are dying, we can restart them. Species facing extinction, we can save them. Diseases without cure, we have the cure. Planets poisoned beyond repair, we can heal them. All of this, we offer freely. No cost. No strings. No tricks. A murmur went through the hall. Some delegates were weeping openly. Others were frozen in shock. The Methuselahs, who had started all of this with their false prophecy, sat very still. Their ancient faces showed something that looked almost like shame. And fourth, Elena continued, her voice growing stronger. We ask one thing in return. Only one thing. It is a small thing, but it is the most important thing. Never again. Never again will this concordance vote on whether a species has the right to exist. Never again will you declare a people illegal. Never again will you tell any being, of any kind, that they must disappear to make your galaxy comfortable. If you agree to this, humanity and the concordance can live side by side as neighbors, as friends, maybe, one day, even as family. If you do not agree, then we will simply continue as we are. We do not need your agreement. We only ask for it. The hall exploded into noise. Some delegates cheered. Some shouted in anger. Some demanded silence. The chairperson banged his staff for order, but order did not come for many minutes. The Velkari delegation called for an immediate vote. They wanted to reject humanity's offer. They wanted to declare war. The Ozultoth queens sent a signal through their hive, ordering their delegate to support the Velkari. The Methuselahs, however, did something no one expected. They sat silent. They did not speak in favor of the triarchy. They did not speak against it either. They simply sat, as if deep in thought. The vote was called. For the first time in 1,000 years, the triarchy's power would be tested against the will of the full assembly. The chairperson asked the question clearly. All in favor of accepting the human offer, please register your vote now. The numbers on the great display above the hall began to move. They moved faster than anyone expected. They moved higher than anyone imagined. 8,241. Against the offer? Only 759. The triarchy had lost. Decisively. Completely. The Velkari delegate, Zur-Kelan, did something no crystal being had ever done in public. She lowered her head. It was a human gesture. She had learned it from watching Elena over the years. It meant surrender. It meant apology. It meant understanding. She walked slowly to the speaking platform. Elena watched her come. There was no triumph in Elena's eyes, only sadness. Ambassador Voss, Zur-Kelan said, before all the galaxy, I ask you a question, and I ask it as one being to another. Not as Velkari to human, not as enemy to enemy, but simply as myself to yourself. Ask, Elena said gently, why did you not destroy us? When you had the power, when you had the right, when we would have deserved it. Why did you not simply erase us, as we tried to erase you? Elena was quiet for a long moment. The cameras of 10,000 species focused on her. The entire galaxy waited for her answer. Because, she said finally, we remember what it felt like. To be told we should not exist. To be told our lives were a mistake. To be told our children had no future. We remember that pain. We carry it with us. And we would not wish that pain on anyone. Not on our friends, not on strangers, not even on you. That is the choice humanity made in the dark. When you could not see us, when we could have done anything, we chose not to be like you. We chose to be ourselves. We chose to be kind. It was not always easy. It will not always be easy. But it is who we are. And it is who we will always be. Zirkalon lowered her head again. When she raised it, tiny tears of liquid crystal ran down her face. She had never cried before. No Velkari had. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for teaching us what we could not see. The great hall rose to its feet. 10,000 species, in 10,000 different ways, stood up for the humans they had once tried to destroy. The galaxy was new. 5 years passed. The galaxy had changed more in those 5 years than in the 1,000 years before them. The old concordance still existed, but it was different now. It was no longer ruled by the Triarchy. The Velkari, the Ozultoth, and the Methuselans had lost their grip on power. They still had seats in the assembly. They still had votes. But they no longer dictated the future. Beside the concordance stood the human continuum. It was not an empire. It was not a nation. It did not have borders in the normal sense. It was, as Ambassador Voss had once explained, an idea. The idea was simple. Every being, everywhere, had the right to exist. No vote could take that right away. No law could remove it. No power could undo it. The open exchange had grown beyond what anyone imagined. Thousands of alien beings now traveled to human cities. They came to learn. They came to trade. They came to heal. They came simply to see. Humans welcomed them all. Humans asked nothing in return. It was, as many aliens said, the strangest thing in the galaxy. On Earth, life went on much as before. People still lived in cities. Children still went to school. Families still ate meals together. Workers still worked. Lovers still loved. Artists still painted. Poets still wrote. The great changes in the galaxy did not seem to change daily life on Earth very much. This, too, was strange to many aliens. They had expected humans to become proud, or distant, or different. But humans just kept being humans. In a small house by the sea, in a quiet part of old Portugal, Elena Voss sat on her porch. She was very old now. Her back was curved. Her hands shook when she lifted her tea, but her eyes were still sharp, and her smile was still warm. She was called Elder Voss now, though she had retired from her ambassador work long ago. A visitor came to see her that morning. He was a Velkari. He was Zirkelon's great-nephew, a young crystal being named Verthelos. He had traveled across the galaxy to meet her. He was studying human ways. He wanted to understand what had happened between his people and humans. He wanted to learn, in his own words, how to become kind. Elena welcomed him. She poured him a cup of tea, though he could not drink it. She told him it was a human custom, and that customs mattered, even small ones. He accepted the tea with great seriousness. He set it on the small table between them, as if it were a sacred object. Elder Voss, he said, may I ask you questions? Of course, Elena said. She sipped her own tea. The sea breeze moved through her white hair. I have studied the history of those years, Verthelos said. The edict, the silence, the return, the offer. I have read every record. I have watched every video. But I still do not understand one thing. What is that? Humanity could have ruled us. You had the power. Your technology was greater than ours. Your numbers grew fast. You could have taken our worlds, our ships, our people. You could have made us your servants. Instead, you offered us friendship. You offered us gifts. You offered us a way to become better. Why? Elena was quiet for a long moment. She watched the waves come in and go out. She watched a small bird hop across her garden. She listened to the sound of her neighbor's children playing in the next yard. Young one, she said at last, let me tell you a story. It is not a grand story. It is not a famous story. It is just a simple story. My grandmother told me when I was a child. Verthelos leaned forward. He took out a small recording device. Then he thought better of it. He put the device away. He wanted to remember this with his own mind, not with a machine. My grandmother told me, Elena began. that long before humans went to the stars, there were two brothers. They lived in a small village. They were poor. They had very little, but they had each other, and they had a small garden. In that garden grew one apple tree. The tree was old. It only gave a few apples each year, but those apples were enough to feed both brothers through the winter. One year, there was a terrible storm. The storm broke the apple tree. The apples were scattered across the ground. Many were ruined. Only a few were still good. The older brother ran to gather them first. He took all of them. He left none for his younger brother. He locked them away in his house. He said to himself, "I will survive this winter. My brother is on his own." The younger brother saw what had happened. He was angry at first. He wanted revenge. He could have broken his older brother's door. He could have taken the apples back. He could have done many things. But he did not. Instead, the younger brother went into the broken garden. He found the seeds of the fallen apples. He took those seeds. He walked into the hills. He found good soil. And he planted a new tree. He watered it with the last of his water. He fed it with the last of his food. He worked through the winter, cold and hungry. He almost died. But in the spring, the new tree grew. And the next year, it gave apples. And the year after that, it gave many apples. And the year after that, it gave enough apples for the whole village. The younger brother never forgot what his older brother had done. But he also never hated him. When his brother grew old and poor and hungry, the younger brother gave him apples too. The older brother cried and asked why. The younger brother said, "Because I know what it is like to be without apples. I would not wish it on anyone. Not even you." Elena paused. She looked at Verthalos. His crystal body shimmered softly in the morning light. "That is why humanity did what we did," she said. "We knew what it was like to have the apples taken away. We knew what it was like to be told we did not deserve to eat. So when we had the power, we did not take your apples. We planted new trees instead, enough for everyone, even for those who had hurt us." Verthalos was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was soft and full of wonder. "Elder Voss," he said, "I think I understand now. It was not about strength. It was not about wisdom. It was about memory." "Yes," Elena said. "Memory and choice. Humans are not better than other species. We are not smarter or kinder by nature. We are just a people who remembered our pain and chose not to pass it on. That is all. That is everything." The young Valkyrie stayed for many hours. They talked about many things, about stars and stories, about gardens and growth, about the future and the past. When he finally left, the sun was setting over the sea. Elena sat alone on her porch. She watched the last light fade. She thought about all the years behind her, all the friends she had made, all the battles she had fought, all the peace she had helped to build. She thought about humanity, spread now across impossible spaces, living in voids between galaxies, building cities inside dying stars, growing gardens on worlds that should not exist, sharing their gifts with any being who asked. She thought about the Triarchy, now humbled and learning, the Valkyrie, who had begun to cry for the first time in their long history, the Azultoth, who had broken apart into peaceful colonies and rebuilt themselves as something new, the Methuselahs, who had gone into quiet study to understand where they had lost their way. She thought about the Cathari, now free, the Baruan, now respected, the hundreds of small species who had joined the open exchange, the galaxy full of voices that had once been silenced. She thought about all of this, and she smiled her strange human smile one last time. Somewhere far above, in skies full of new and old stars, a ship sailed between galaxies. Inside it, a human child looked out the window. She pointed at the stars. She asked her father a question. "Papa, who made all those stars?" Her father thought for a moment. Then he answered. "Some were made by time," he said. "Some were made by us. And some were just waiting for us to find them." "Why did they wait for us?" Her father smiled. He pulled her close. He looked out at the endless, impossible, beautiful galaxy. "Because," he said softly, "everyone deserves to be found. That is what humans know. That is what humans will always know." Outside, the stars shone on, and the galaxy, at long last, was at peace.